Hello and welcome to the Devoted Outdoorsman Podcast.
Hello, Podcast Nation. What is up? I hope you guys have been having an awesome week and you're ready for this week's podcast. So this week on the podcast, we have a pretty awesome guest. His name is Chase Schrick, and he is the creator of the Oklahoma Whitetails Facebook page. Chase has been on the podcast once before, but he has recently had some new developments in his outdoor career. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about where we're at in our whitetail hunt right now this time of year in late August. So, Chase, where are you at in your whitetail plan for the year right now?
You know, right now, we're still in preseason, man. So right now our plan is running cameras, trying to figure out patterns, making that hit list, which is bound to change. We all know how that works. Come October, bucks are going to move. But at least we're getting an idea of what we got in the area. We're getting our food plots in and man, just doing everything we can, from shooting our bows every day and hanging stands and just strategizing this entire season.
So do you guys run feeders, and do you guys have like your cameras set up on the feeders, or do you guys have them like set up on transition areas and stuff like that this time of year?
This time of year, early season, I'll usually dump corn in piles. I'm not a big feeder person. I've had places where feeders just scare the life out of big mature bucks. So I got to where now I just scatter corn all over the ground and I'll set a camera up on it early season. Getting closer to season, I might have a camera or two on a food source, but I kind of like to start watching trails, especially starting around September. About this time of year, I like to start moving some of my cameras to different trails and find out which trails my bucks are using. And it just kind of helps me be able to set up where I need to be come opening morning.
Yeah, exactly, man. I completely understand that. I'm running a bunch of feeders on one of those properties that I got permission on, and dude, it's been ridiculous. Like, these deer are going through, they went through 100 pounds of corn in one feeder last week, and I think I'm going to have to do something about it. It's been ridiculous. I've got this one doe group that literally every morning they're there, in the evening they're there. I'm sure they're sleeping like right behind it or something. They got to be real close by, but it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, are you getting a lot of daytime pictures of them?
Oh yeah, dude. We're getting we haven't gotten a lot of buck pictures in the past week or so, but the farmer cut the big hay meadow right next to it, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I think them coming in and cutting the hay meadow and taking the hay bales and everything out made a lot of ruckus and might have pushed them farther down in this bottom. But I'm sure they'll come back as the soybeans get a little bit bigger and everything.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. I was plowing a field last night. And my camera sits 15 yards inside the tree line. And I've got pictures of me driving by on the tractor. You can see the lights on the tractor. It's 10 o'clock at night. And all of my deer are right there in front of the camera. And they've all got their heads turned looking at the tractor drive by. And I never seen them. So you'd be surprised. Tractors don't scare deer a whole lot. Unless you start driving it through the wood like a bulldozer, tearing out trees and stuff, that might. But cutting and plowing, that usually don't affect them, thank goodness.
Yeah, dude, I think they're pretty used to it with like the combines and everything going through there throughout the year, cutting out crops and stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm getting super excited for this season. Like I was telling you before we started the podcast, I've been messing around building my arrows for this year's setup. Thanks to Epic Archery for hooking me up with my inserts and everything. I'm excited to use their new spinning insert. It's going to be pretty interesting. You pulled on a few new sponsors and stuff like that, haven't you?
We have. I started a TV show earlier this spring called Rough and Ready Outdoors. And I'm not going to say it's been easy. I mean, it's been, a chore getting everything up and going, getting the sponsors that we wanted. We didn't quite we got all of them except for one. And that one I haven't really pushed for because I've been so busy between two jobs and trying to get ready for deer season. But, I'm still going to shoot their arrows. That's Black Eagle Arrows. I love their arrows. I'll continue to shoot them. And that's what I'm going to shoot this year, even though we're not, sponsored by them. We've got, we're going to be shooting, VIP, Veteran Innovation products. They've got some awesome broadheads. They've got the Atom, which a lot of people probably know, and they've got a new one out. I think it's been out for probably a year or two now, called the Veteran, and it's an amazing broadhead. I've seen it do a lot of damage. So we're going to be shooting those this year. I've been added to the Treason Tribe. So of course I'm going to be wearing Treason camo, and I think a lot of my team is going to be wearing that as well. But as far as team sponsors, we picked up Carbon Skin, Skin Elimination. So we're going to be supporting them this year and using their products. J&S Scents. Their scents are amazing. And, we were blessed and picked them up as well. I'm already, doing mock scrape, with their, Scrape Rage gel, just seeing how it's working. And so far I've got bucks hitting it, looking at it, paying attention to it. So it's something that I'm going to keep on using this year, and I can't wait to see the results off of it. We got Mighty Herd. So Mighty Herd is a mineral company. We're going to be using them this year. They've got a spray called, Rapid Fuel Attractant. And, it really, really works. I can spray that stuff on a stump, and the deer will try to pick that stump up, carry it off half the time. So, other than that, man, that's about our lineup on sponsors this year. I did fill out a contract for the Luminoc Pro staff here a couple days ago. So, waiting to hear back from them and see how all that goes as well. So, yeah, ought to be a good year.
Yeah, man, it definitely sounds like you got a lot going on over there, and you got a pretty busy schedule. So whenever you get those deer on a good pattern, just let me know, and I'll slip right in there, take care of that part for you, and you can just continue with all the paperwork.
Okay, yeah, I think we can work that out.
Dude, that sounds like a perfect plan.
I'll drop a pin right in the middle of the lake for you, right where they're at.
Perfect. So are you guys running your cameras on those mock scrapes, or are you just kind of like setting up mock scrapes in certain areas?
I've got cameras up on the mock scrapes. I've got 2 mock scrapes right now. I've got one taking video, and I've got one taking pictures. That way I kind of cover both angles, and I can see how they, pictures, to me, you can see and smell it, but it's the reaction that I'm looking for after that, which is what the video helps me determine, is how they react to it. And that's my strategy. I don't know how other people do it, but that to me seems to be the best way for me to see if the scent I'm using is working or not.
So you mentioned that you guys are planting food plots this year. What are you guys planting in your food plots?
We all plant different stuff. We've tried throw and grow and other things. For me, I'm an alfalfa guy. I'm a big believer in the alfalfa. my brother actually bought a mix this year that had wheat, alfalfa, winter peas, clover. It had all kinds of stuff in it. It was a big 50-pound bag for $30. And, so he's about to put that in and see how it works. For me, like I said, though, alfalfa has always been a big game changer for me. Deer just in this area seem to love it. So.
Oh yeah, dude. I've seen some alfalfa fields get pretty full of deer right in the evening, especially in the early season when they're still hitting that green real hard. Man, alfalfa fields will draw them in from a while away.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, dude, we planted some biologic in one area, and then we planted I don't even know what it was. I think it was forage oats or something like that in one other areas. And dude, it's taken off like crazy with all this rain we've been getting. It was like we planted it at the perfect time because it rained for like almost 2 weeks, every other day. And I went out last weekend and it was looking real green and real thick, looking pretty good. So I'm hoping, got big dreams for it.
Good deal. Yeah, I'd seen your video. I think I'd seen one earlier of some of the stuff you planted. It was really coming in good. That's impressive. I like it.
Yeah, dude, we didn't even do anything in that spot, man. It's so tight in there that we couldn't even get a tractor. We couldn't get anything in there if we really wanted to, unless we went in like a bulldozer, and just like started pushing stuff over. But we cleaned those areas out, and anybody can do it, man. That's really why I have videos from the beginning of when we first went in there in the wintertime and until now, and it's a crazy difference how much a few hours here and there of in there with a chainsaw or in there with a hatchet and a machete and just a rake and just cleaning it out did, man. It looks like a real nice, presentable food plot and everything now, so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, dude, how's your hit list coming together? Do you have any bucks that are making number one so far or anything like that?
I do. We're hunting 2 states this year. We're hunting Texas and Oklahoma. Well, I mean, I am. We've got other team members that are going to be hitting other states. I think we've got a bear hunt being filmed, coyote hunts, duck, goose, deer, hogs. It's got a season. We're probably going to hunt it. My hit list, man, Texas is hard to say. We do have some nice mature bucks in Texas. And between the landowners out there around the area, it's in agreement that, I think it's got to be 4.5 or older, which is, I think, awesome. I'm all for the shooting mature bucks. To each his own. I'm not saying anything about guys that don't do that. Meat in the freezer is meat in the freezer. It's your tag, it's not mine. So, you shoot your deer. But me, I shoot enough doe every year to fill my freezer. So, I won't lie, I'm a bit of a trophy hunter. So Texas is good. We've got a few mature bucks that we're all keeping an eye on. But Oklahoma is going to be the big game changer for me this year. I've got some really decent bucks on camera, and I think I'm losing more sleep than I'm getting trying to work out game plans and strategies in my head for them too this year.
Yeah, man, I saw some of the pictures you guys posted. I think it was last week or something like that. And you guys have some studs here on that Oklahoma land that you guys are hunting this year.
Yeah. But, like we talked about before, last year, I think really turned some heads as far as Oklahoma being able to produce the caliber of deer that people usually like to see.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And this year so far, I'm seeing a lot of velvet pictures come up here and there of some monsters, man. Some definitely over 200-inch deer. And then I know two deer that I think it's two that the game wardens actually got their hands on. One of them scored like 208, and then the other one scored like 203. But those were instances where they were harvested illegally, or one of them was hit by a car. But dude, that's something that's starting out this year is going to be telling us a lot, I think, and especially with all this rain we're getting right now, it's giving that little extra boost of everything, a little bit more growing time, and we'll see what happens, dude. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, which the rain is good. We didn't get that good rainfall, like early in the spring, like we had, 2 years past. So I won't lie, I was getting a little bit worried, trying to time food plots. You got certain windows, but man, when it's dry as a bone, it's kind of, unless you own a fire truck, it's hard to say, hey, I want to put this food plot in now. So you're kind of, you pray for that rain to come in, so you can get your seed in the ground a day or two before and just pray that it rains on it. And I mean, that's what we've done this year, is just we've tried to play the weather, but we're both from Oklahoma. You know how this Oklahoma weather is. It's 100% chance of rain and it snows, or, it's not going to rain at all and we get 6 inches. So that's just the game we play.
Yeah, man, I was watching the weather. Trying to plan, when we were going to get those seeds out. And I saw the 2-week forecast, which you can't ever believe the forecast. Like you said, we live in Oklahoma. They may say it's going to be 100 degrees next week and it's going to snow, ends up snowing. But
yeah.
The forecast called for it was like 7 days of rain. And I was like, all right, 7 days of rain. It's going to rain one of those days. We're getting that seed out there this weekend. And it worked out, it worked out.
Yeah, well, see, I'd planted, we've got some ponds that we're going to duck hunt this year, and I was late getting the millet in. Finding it was a chore. But I finally got some Japanese millet in to put around some of the ponds. And here I am. I checked the forecast. Everything looks good. No rain for a week. All right, I'm going to put it in now, and it's going to sprout, and then it's going to rain, and we'll be okay. No, man, I throw that seed out, and it wasn't like a day or two later, we get like 3 inches. And then the next day, we get like another 2 inches. And I was like, well, there went all that seed that I just planted or, tossed out around the pond that, it's probably not going to sprout. But I'll tell you what, I went out there today and checked it, and it's sprouting all over the place. So it didn't wash away. It's coming up. So thank goodness we're going to have some millet. If it sprouts, if it grows, as long as the frost don't hit, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, man, I saw something the other day that was talking about we may have a very cold winter this year, which, you can never really believe what those things say because, they've been saying that for the past, 2 years, and we've had pretty mild winters the past few years.
Yeah, I was going to say, like last year, we had the most mild summer that I think I've ever seen in my life, living in Oklahoma. We had 1 or 2 days that were over 100 degrees. And, so if any year was going to be a really cold winter, I would have expected it to have been last year. And I was highly disappointed when it wasn't that way. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man, I always, especially in November, mid-November, that's when I really want it to happen, or even just late season, man. I always it's if there's a chance of snow, I hope we get 6 inches, and then it doesn't even snow. I always get my hopes up.
I always pray for that cold front. I don't care if it stays cold, just give me a cold snap. Just give me a cold front to come through and let's, take a few days vacation to hunt that cold front. So
yeah, man. So what part of the season do you like to hunt the best? Do you like the rut time, or do you like early season or late season? Which one do you prefer?
I'm an early season guy. I'm not so big on the rut. Believe it or not, I've never killed a deer in rut. I'm not a big rifle hunter anyway. I rifle hunt. but I've never killed one while it was chasing. So for me, I'd have to say that early season is, for me, my favorite. You know, you get into, hopefully our October is real nice, and cool. I like them cool, crisp mornings, you know, slide my trees and pull over on, and I'm comfortable all day long, you know. I don't like being extremely cold. I'll hunt in it, but shivering to death or feeling like I'm going to lose my fingers and toes is not my idea of a good time most of the time. So for me, early season, is just awesome. Everything's still green, and, you know, everything is still pretty active for the most part. And to me, it's the most beautiful time of year, right there in October, early November.
So I would say that my favorite part of a season to hunt is, I don't know, I like hunting late season because I find it easier to find the animals, but I like that first week of November, man. That's the week that I feel like the magic really starts happening, and that's the week that the big boys get up on their feet cruising around. It's funny that you mentioned that the first part of the season is your favorite time of the year to hunt. Do you believe in the supposed October lull?
I don't know. I mean, for me, that first week of October, if you catch it right, there's something magical about it. I mean, if you catch the bucks before they come out of their bachelor groups and you still have them patterned so your bucks aren't running each other off yet, I mean, that to me is perfect. You know, last year, the buck that was on the top of my hit list passed through, you know, first lot, just right there in front of my stand. I had him patterned, knew where he's going to be. He was still running with all the other bucks. And so for me, I mean, that first week, I've killed 80% of my deer in the first week of deer season.
And dude, you're right. That's one of the weeks where we see a lot of deer harvested, especially since they made the crossbow legal. Because I see like a lot of kids, because that's a perfect time, I think, to get kids and people out there that don't necessarily like you said, the cold, to get out there in the stand or in the blind, whatever it may be, because, you know, the deer are on a pattern, like you said, and it's not too cold yet. It's not too hot. You can kind of go set out and just kind of hang out because deer are still kind of on their summer patterns.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's crazy that you've never shot one while they were rutting, man. Every year I feel like I get the opportunity on one, but I always, for some reason, it always just slips away. I always make that wrong judgment call, like, oh man, I'm gonna wait until he comes up this creek right here. It's gonna be perfect, and then he turns and goes the other way.
Yeah, and see, I mean, for me, there is no pattern. You know, late October to the end of November, there's really no pattern. Pick a tree, and wait, basically. Because once they start, you know, once that pre-rut kicks in and then bucks start checking does, you can kiss the trail you've been seeing that buck on every day goodbye, because he is off chasing flowers somewhere and dragonflies, and nobody knows where he is. He can end up 2 miles down the road, and that just drives me nuts. So, man, I like early season.
Yeah, man, it's crazy how people hunt different ways. So like you're saying, you get the bucks on a pattern early season, man, and then you try to slide in there and still catch them on that pattern. And then there's other people like myself who, man, honestly, early season, I mean, it's nice if I can get one on a pattern, but I'm not really putting all my eggs in that basket. I try to keep track of where all my does are, because I know once it starts getting towards the end of October, 1st November, that's where the bucks are going to be, wherever the does are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, man, we were talking the other night kind of about, like, how you guys are videoing this year. What camera are you using and stuff like that?
Camera gear, my action cams, man, they're awesome. They're Ninja Eyes, and they're really good. I've been shooting a lot of film with them here the past couple of days. Doing different angles with them. I'll attach them to the bumper of my truck. I'll drive over the top of them. I'll stick them in the tractor with me. All kinds of stuff, getting different angles with the action cams. My main camera is a Canon XA20. I picked it up earlier this spring. I've played with it a lot through the spring and the summer. We did our best to film turkey hunts with it, this spring, but, when it's snowing and sleeting, first day of stinking turkey season, May 6th rolls in, or April 6th rolls in, and it's snowing, it's sleeting, our turkey season's off. But anyway, like I said, I've played with it a lot. It's a really good camera. I love the infrared on it, especially for early morning hunts when you're walking into a place. To me, it gives it a cool effect. A lot of the guys on the show, you're going to see them using, like I said, I've got the Canon XA20. My cousin, Josh, he's got, I think he said the Canon XA11. Of course, Ethan, he's got the Canon G30. And then we've got some guys with Canon T6s. And I've seen some of the videos that those are putting out, and they're doing really good. So, we're not using like professional grade stuff, but for what we're doing, the gear we have is amazing, and it works great, and it puts out the footage we need it to. So the only part we have to do is just get it all on film and get it edited.
Yeah, man, and that's where all the fun and games begins is when you're starting the editing.
Oh, no, that's where you start pulling your hair out.
Yeah, man, I started with one of the T6s, and I decided that the DSLR wasn't for me, man. It's too much focusing the lens in and zooming in. It's too much for me. So what I ended up doing is I kind of met in the middle between a camcorder and a DSLR. I got a mirrorless camera. I'm using the Lumix G7 this year, and I'm super happy with it so far. I haven't actually had it completely set up like on my Muddy Outfitter and with my Manfrotto or anything yet, but I'm hoping to do that maybe this weekend and just kind of make sure everything's going to work the way I think it's going to, because that's kind of what happened to me last year. Was I was like, oh yeah, this T6 is going to work great, and then it kind of ended up biting me in the ass. So that was a whole learning curve, but I think this year will be way better.
Oh yeah, well, see, like last year I used the DSLR, and I was the same way. I hated it. Constantly having to focus it. And it just, it gave me so much grief that I was like, okay, it's time for a change. We got to do something different. So I talked to a good buddy of mine, and he was like, I'm about to sell my XA20. And I was like, I want it. And I do. I absolutely love it. I don't know if you've ever used a Hawk Hunt Hard camera arm. But man, I gotta tell you what, that is one of the smoothest camera arms I've ever used. I've played with it a lot in the tree, in the stand, just playing around with it, getting used to the motion and getting it set up exactly how I want it to be able to film everything I need to.
So are you using like a variable zoom switch like that goes down on your like fluid head arm, or are you going to use the like zoom that's on the camera, the body itself?
I've got I think a VariZoom, and it's the stick, and it plugs into the side of my camera, and I like that a lot better. because I can manually set my camera to my light and everything to where even if there's a twig in my way, and that was the other thing with the DSLR. If I had to move my DSLR and all of a sudden I'm getting leaves in the corner of my screen, it tries to focus in on the leaves, and I hated that because of the automatic zoom or automatic focus. But with this camera, I don't have that. So it's a lot easier for me. I can use the stick. I can record, stop, take a picture, zoom in and out. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, man. I've actually looked into the newer Canons. I was gonna get a G40, but I just ended up getting a really good deal on this Lumix, and I've heard a lot of great things about it. And man, I really like it so far. It takes great quality pictures, and the video is incredible. It's capable of videoing in 4K, which was something that I thought was cool, but honestly, I probably will never use 4K. Other than like maybe if I'm watching a field or something, that way I can always cut it down into a certain area. Like let's say the deer is not exactly in the middle of the frame, I can always cut it down because it's basically like four 1080p TVs. Like you can cut it down in all those areas, and that's something that I'm looking to play with a little bit.
Oh yeah. Well, to me, I mean that's the big thing is just playing with your equipment. I mean, you got to know it, especially, if you're going to do stuff like film hunts, you have to know your equipment. And I know that I've got to get my brother up here and let him play with my camera because, we've talked about it, and, he said, Chase, man, if you got the deer you're looking at patterned, he said, I will, cause we're going to hunt September 29th and 30th in Texas, where we will be self-filming. And then, we're going to come back to Oklahoma the night of the 30th, get a few hours of sleep and hit the blind really, really early. We'll probably be in that blind at like 3:30 in the morning. But I got to get him to play with it because he's like, I want to film that hunt. And I was like, okay. So he's going to come up and film. So I got to get him to play with my camera. Like I said, he's got the G30, I think it is. And, we'll probably use it as a secondary camera, but, we'll use mine as the main camera. So I got to get him used to it and, get him to play with it a little bit. That way he knows the camera. So that way if, one of the deer we're after do step out, then, there's no ands, ifs, or buts. We're going to get it on camera and, it's going to look good.
Yeah, man. With them both being Canons, it should be pretty similar, I would think.
Yeah, they're really similar once you put them side by side. Mine's got a few features that his don't, but I mean, all in all, it's basically the same camera.
And guys, I want everybody to know, because I know a lot of people are listening to this, and I get a lot of questions about, what is a self-filming setup? Like, what do you need to film hunts? You guys can honestly go to Walmart and buy a, over-the-counter, just any video camera to video your hunts. It doesn't have to be something crazy. It's just, like me and Chase are talking about, there's different qualities of cameras. There's different types of cameras for different things. And honestly, if you're just trying to video something that you want to push up on YouTube or you want to, just have to play back and watch like me, really you could get by with just like a Sony Handycam. And, the Muddy makes a couple cheap consumer camera arms, and I know Hawk does. But, really you could probably get a whole setup for $200 real easy and have something, pretty nice actually. And get some decent quality films if you get out there and play with it enough to, understand everything.
You can. And I mean, when you first get into it, you can get on eBay. You don't have, for action cams, you don't have to have a GoPro. A lot of people think it's the way to go. I'm going to be honest. I've got ninja eyes, and to me, I've seen firsthand myself the difference in the video, and I love the ninja eye a lot more than I do GoPro. You can get on eBay and pick up a 4K 1080p action cam for, anywhere from $30 to $70 really easy. And, you know, now they sell the attachments for your bow, or you can get the $10 to $20 little attachment that goes on your stand or hooks up in the tree to where you can move it where you want it. I mean, so it's really, you don't have to spend a lot of money to film your hunts. It's not that expensive, especially like you said, if you're just wanting it for, you know, yourself, if you're just wanting to show your buddies, hey man, look at this hunt, you know, it's really easy to just get started and work it, you know, what you're trying to do. And if you decide that, hey, I want to take this to the next level and start editing my videos more and make them look more professional, then yeah, I mean, bump up by all means, you know, but to start out, yeah, you can start out cheap and it's really easy, and it's a learning curve, but man, anybody can do it.
And dude, that's honestly, that's like anything, you know, anybody can do anything they want as long as they get there and they learn it. That's just like whole podcasting thing, man. I had no idea. A year ago, I had no idea how to do any of it. And, you know, I'd been on a few podcasts here and there, so I knew how to record them, but I didn't know anything about editing them or how to get them online or anything, man. It's just a learning curve, got it all figured out, and now I do one every week. So, you know, if you guys want to video your hunt, get you a cheap camera, get yourself out in the woods, and just get some animals on camera. And man, honestly, it doesn't even have to be big bucks. It doesn't have to be deer at all, man. You know, it could be a rabbit in your yard, but just get out there, learn your equipment, and make some quality video.
There you go. There you go.
Well, Chase, with all that being said, man, I hope that you have a great 2018 season, and I'll let you know when I'm going to come out there and harvest one of those bucks for you.
All right, let me know, and I'll be sure to run them out of there to the neighbor's place.
This is kind of off topic, but I always go off topic at some point. Man, I was at Walmart the other day, and they had this whole clearance aisle at our Walmart, and they had, at the end of it, they had a whole case of this stuff, and it was called Deer Be Gone. And I guess normally it's like $15.99, but they had it all on sale for $4. And I was just like, man, you know, if someone really didn't like somebody, you could buy this whole case for pretty cheap and just pour it on all over the leaves, man, just all over it. And that'd be messed up, but it'd be kind of interesting just to see what would happen.
I'm not gonna lie. I've had thoughts. The place I'm hunting, there's a guy that has a stand 5 foot off the fence, and he's hunting this little corner. He's got him a little, you know, 30 by 80 food plot, and he's right there in the corner. He's hunting 4 corners of all these properties, and I swear, for him to shoot out of his blind, tower blind, and shoot a deer, he's aiming at their spine. And to me, that drives me nuts, you know, because I'm not that guy that's going to hunt a fence line, not unless I own the property next to it. But like I said before, I mean, everybody's got their own way of hunting, but I'm not going to lie when I sit here and say there's been times I thought about taking a sprayer out there with a bunch of that Deer Be Gone in it and just watering a food plot just to see if it works, you know. I gotta test it before I use it at the house. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna buy it and use it at the house if it don't work. Is that how that works? Would that be okay?
You know, it depends. It depends, man. Because we got this people that have the lease next to us, and the tree grows on their side of the fence, but their stand is on our side of the fence. And it's been kind of like, dude, it's been kind of like a ongoing thing where I'm just kind of pissed off about it, and they're kind of mad that I'm even mad about it. So I mean, that'd be a good spot to test it out at if it wasn't so close to some of my good locations there. So
yeah. I mean, everybody hunts their way, but I'm that guy. As long as you don't shoot over my fence, we're not going to have an issue.
Exactly, man. And I know exactly what they were doing when they set up that stand. You know, they're not trying to hunt our side, even though it may look like that. They bow hunt, and how the stand's set up, it makes sense to where their feeder is and everything. You know, they got it set in the tree. That way when they stand up, they got the tree in between them and the feeder, and they can just kind of lean around the tree and make their shot. And, you know, after I thought about it, I kind of, you know, I simmered down over time about it. But when I first realized what was going on, I was kind of upset about it.
Yeah, and see, I'm like, you know, talking about this blind, you can tell by the way he's got everything set up out there. They're rifle hunters. There's no way that you can bow hunt out of that blind, out of that tower blind. The windows are too small, and you can't shoot down at that much of an angle with a bow. Well, I'm not saying you can or can't, but yeah, I haven't tried it yet. But so for me, like, you know, we were talking about earlier, early season. I mean, if I know them guys aren't going to be out there till later, I'm not worried one way or another if they're going to hunt there in late season, because hopefully by then I'm already done. I'm just managing property at that point.
Absolutely, man. Well, I hope you have a great week. Is there anything that you need to plug before we get off here?
No, man. I think I'm good. I appreciate the time for sure.
Yeah, no problem, man. We'll get you back on here maybe a little bit further into the season or after season. I think I'm going to do a little thing each week where I do a little short podcast and just kind of talk about the deer activity. I said activia. The deer activity in your area. So, you know, I'm going to talk to the different hunters throughout the country and just kind of see what's going on. So we'll get you back on here at some point, man.
Sounds good. Hit me up anytime.
No problem, man.